a great search brought to you by DigiKey and Adafruit. Thank you so much, DigiKey. Every single week, Ladyada uses their powers of engineering to help you, yes, you, find the things you're looking for. On digikey.com, Ladyada, what is the great search of the week this week?
Okay, so this week, we had a person who, I think it was on Ask Engineer on one of the Wednesdays, who said, hey, you stock this low and full speed USB isolator, but I want high speed. And I was like, you're right. Like at the time when I designed this, many, many years ago, this is product number 2000, we went up to like 60,000 something. So it's like, or 6,000 something. So it's been many years ago. There was only, I think, I don't think there was a high speed isolator. Or if it was like really expensive. And to be honest, like the stuff that we were doing was only low and full speed, which is like, keyboards and mice and simple digital acquisition stuff, microcontroller boards, Arduinos, like Raspberry Pi, whatever, like that kind of stuff, USB serial. But, there are a lot of data acquisition boards that do have high speed, stuff like the Salier or like the Digital stuff. That's all going to use high speed because instead of they try to just push the data to the computer as quickly as possible so they don't have to have a lot of onboard RAM. So, good idea. So I thought I would look for a chip that could do high-speed USB isolation, and I was going to go to DigiKey. So the first thing I wanted to do is the chips I used here is the ADUM4160 and the ADUM5000. Now the ADUM5000 is the power isolator, and it's not unusual to need separate power isolation than data isolation. And so I'm probably going to reuse the ADUM5000 because we have plenty of those in stock. And then I'm going to, let's see, the ADUM4160. Let's see. That, it's always good if you're like, oh, I'm looking for something similar to a thing. Find that chip and then see how does DigiKey categorize it. And then you can go the categorization and look to see if you could like change the whatever specs you want to get like a higher speed or higher quality or smaller package. So this was in the digital isolators category. So let's look here. So of course, we're going to look for active boards. And I would say surface mount, but to be honest, I'm not worried about that. What I like is they have the categorization by type, and they have like all the different ones. Now, USB is a bidirectional communication system that uses like 1.5K pull-ups in weird ways and stuff. So, it's something that does RS-232, which is unidirectional per pin. Like it's a bidirectional per port, but each pin only does one direction. That's way, way, way easier and cheaper than doing bidirectional. So, you're gonna get. You have to make sure you have the right one for it to handle. Also, USB is differential, so it's like making sure that with the isolation, that differentialness like doesn't get desynced. Let's make sure that it's a chip that's specifically designed for USB. So when we do that, there's only 24 products available, and you see like, oh yeah, the ADUM, blah, blah, blah. When I was kind of scrolling around and seeing like what's up, and I saw that there is the data rate. And there's a lot of boards that are 12 megabit per second. That's going to be full speed, which will also handle low speed. Because whatever, as long as it can handle one speed, it can handle anything below, and low speed is 1.5 megabits. Full speed is 12, and then high speed is 480. So I want to make sure, I could go through and like hand filter out, but let's just get the ones that are only 480 megabit per second data rate. There's also like 110, but honestly, like if you advertise high speed USB, people are going to want to be able to plug their high speed SSDs, their video cameras, their high speed DACs, and not worry about like, oh, I got choked because the isolator is a quarter of a high-speed capability. And then these are what's available. So these are all of the not surprisingly, they're analog devices. It's like they kind of do have a lock sort of on this market. So it's actually surprising. Some of these are not in stock or they're not normally stocking. So let's just look at all the normally stocking items. And then some of these have isolated power built in too, and those are probably going to be more expensive. Yeah, it looks like the 4165 has isolated power. Now, that is actually something that's worth looking into. If I didn't have that ADUM 5000 chip already in stock, I might look at like, well, I might as well get a chip that does all-in-one. nothing wrong with that, but because I have a lot of the ADUM, I mean, I have a lot of the chip, the power isolator. So let's look at just quantity 100 so I have a better sense. So the cheapest one is a 65 and then there's a 66. And let's see what the difference is. Oh, you know what? I looked in the data sheet to find out what the difference is. So both of these don't have isolated power. If you want isolated power, it's $4 more. So it's like, again, if the isolator you have, if you don't mind having more board space and it's cheaper, just go with that. So looking at the data sheet, I believe, oh man, and microchip, sorry, the analog devices change the link. So let's just Google this and, okay, go to the data sheet this way. So look at the difference, and the difference is, I don't know if they mention it here, if I actually have to go into the data sheet itself, is basically, is the crystal on the upstream or the upstream side or the downstream side. And to be honest, I'm not 100% sure which way you'd want, but I think I'd want it from the host side. I mean, I'm going to look into it. But they have both, and they're both basically the same price, the 65 and the 66. So just because, the 66 is in stock, I'll probably start with that. Maybe for some reason that is a cleaner signal or it has better performance, or I don't know. They're basically the same, they're almost the same price. So I'm going to select this one, the ADUM 3166. What I like is I think this would, it's pretty easy. I would just pull off this in the design, put on the 4166 instead of the 4160. And then while I'm at it, I'm also going to change this from a micro USB to USB-C because nobody really uses micro B anymore. And that'll be a new product that'll help people do high-speed USB isolation. Really good for data acquisition systems. I've definitely seen people have issues where it's I'm measuring very precise stuff and I'm getting noise coming in from USB that's actually affecting my ability to measure, or they're it's a high voltage and they don't want the earth ground of USB affecting the ground of whatever they're measuring. So yeah, ADUM 3166 is my pick for a high-speed USB isolator chip.
That's a great treasure.
Where in the world is that part I need?